Hey, welcome to the Joseph D. Grant County Park Master Plan Update meeting. We'll start shortly. We'll just wait for a few more people to trickle in. Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting now. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Draft Alternatives public meeting for the Joseph D. Grant County Park Master Plan Update Project. I'm Caitlin Song, Assistant Planner with the County of Santa Clara Parks and Recreation Department. And from County Parks, we have Kimberly Brousseau, Jeremy Farr, and Jim Chung. And then from our consultant RRM Design Group, we have Lance Worsham and Aiden Barrio. Next slide, please.
You guys seeing the slides advance? I am advancing them on my end. There we go.
Okay. So this meeting and presentation will be recorded. The recording will be available on the project website after this meeting. Your microphones are currently muted and should remain muted throughout the presentation unless called upon to speak. If you have a question or comment, please wait until the comments and question portion of the meeting, to which you can raise your hand or use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and you'll be called upon by staff to unmute and speak. So please be respectful. If you're experiencing technical difficulties, please let a staff know via the Q&A feature and we'll work something out. Next slide.
Okay, there is a delay. I'm clicking, but I'm worried it's going to jump 2 slides. Are you guys seeing it advance on your end?
No, it's still on the
Okay.
meeting etiquette slide.
It was working earlier. I have my video off. I'm not sure why. Just
Okay,
gonna do with this. Okay.
so here's a quick reference for people new to Zoom. This is for navigating the Zoom toolbar. On the far left side is your audio setting. Your mic will remain muted throughout the presentation. If you raise your hand to speak and are called upon, you can unmute yourself in this section here. And in the middle, we have the raise hand feature for when you want to ask a question or make a comment verbally. And then the Q&A feature where you can type in your question and comment to be read and answered by staff. And if you need to leave the meeting at any time, the button on the far right side is where you click. Next slide. So for today's meeting agenda, we have the welcome and introduction, which we just did. We will present the project background, status, and the draft alternatives, followed by a comments and questions session, and then we will come to a close for the meeting. Next slide. So Joseph D. Grant County Park is the largest park in the department's system. The park has 51 miles of trails, camping, historic areas, and interpretive exhibits. It is known for its oak woodland expanses with sweeping vistas. This project is an update to the 1993 master plan. Next slide. So for project status, we had presented the opportunities and constraints to Parks and Recreation Commission meeting in June of 2024. And then we conducted public outreach in spring of 2025, which included a public survey and the opportunities and constraints public meeting. And then we also presented the draft alternatives to the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting back in December of 2025. Next slide. For the public survey, we had the survey in May of 2025 and it closed at June 2025. The public survey was shared during our Opportunities and Constraints public meeting. It was posted on the social media, flyers around the parks, and an email blast to stakeholders and the people who signed up to be notified. The survey asked about park usage, and we received a total of 70 responses. And in the following slides, I will share the summary of the survey results. Next slide, please. The first question in the survey was regarding the current usage of the park. So some popular activities included hiking, walking, camping, history and ranch house tours, and bird watching. Some of the least popular responses included equestrian, horseback riding, and trail running. And then for the open response we had stargazing, orienteering, mountain boarding, botanizing, and Native American history. Next slide. For the next question, this was on the new activities or amenities the public would like to see at the park. The most popular response was astronomy events and star parties. And then other popular responses included archery, water-based recreation, and children's adventure play area. Some of the open responses we got was nature, natural setting, nature interpretation, single track mountain biking, and backcountry backpacking. Next slide. So for questions relating to trails at the park, we asked if the public use the trails, and if yes, what they use the trails for. The most popular response was hiking and walking. Less than 20% of the responses used the trails for bicycling or horseback riding, and some other responses included bird watching and botanizing. Next slide. For camping, we asked the public what types of campsite they would prefer at the park. There was a high interest in tent car camping, which was over 60% of the total responses. There was a similar interest in tent hiking/biking camping sites and yurt cabin sites, which was around 35% of the total response. And then the least amount of interest included the RV sites with water and electrical hookups at 9% of the total response, and smaller trailer/van/camper sites, which are site contained, at 60% of the total responses. Next slide. So to summarize all the key takeaways from the survey, the top 3 current uses at the park are hiking/walking, camping, and historic ranch house tours. There is also a high interest in hiking/biking campsites and yurts and cabins. There is also a high interest in astronomy/stargazing programs and events. Another response we got was that Wi-Fi is not necessary everywhere in the park. The most popular response was that occasional use or limited access was good. And then majority of the responses in the survey wanted to keep the park rural and natural. And then I will turn it over now to Lance, who will present the draft alternatives for the Joseph D. Grant Master Plan Update Project.
Thank you, Caitlin. The goals and objectives were primarily pulled from all of our stakeholder meetings and the community outreach and the results that we received that Caitlin just went over. And so from these, the top 4 categories of goals we created were to improve the circulation and accessibility, enhance educational and recreational opportunities, reuse existing structures, and improve and update the park facilities. Next slide. The draft alternatives specifically focus on the core use areas of the park, which include the park's main entry and kiosk, the Grant House complex, campgrounds, and day use areas, as well as Grant Lake. In addition to these focus areas, we have worked with staff to provide recommendations to various trails in the park. The following slides will identify more specific improvements based on staff and community feedback. Next slide. Grant Lake provides many opportunities for recreation identified in the master plan, including fishing, piers, picnic areas, and access from the eastern side, as well as a loop trail around the lake, and have been included in the draft alternatives consistent with staff and community feedback. In addition, new trails have been added to provide greater access and connectivity to Grant Lake. The draft alternatives also includes potential expansion of the parking lot to increase capacity for visitors. Next slide. We are currently working on potential trail crossings on Mount Hamilton Road with W-Trans to analyze site distance and compliance with Caltrans highway design manual standards for a potential of 6 crossings. The transportation analysis will determine the viability of crossing treatments per national standards and provide recommendations with respect to crosswalk location and design treatment, signage, roadway striping, etc. This analysis includes existing crossings and potential new crossings. Next slide. The Parks Department is proposing changes to a number of trails to provide safe trails, improve accessibility, reduce maintenance needed, and protect natural and cultural resources. These recommendations will benefit the public and these natural resources. There are some new trails proposed that would provide regional trail connections and short trails that have been frequently requested by the public in the past. Next slide. Consistent with the master plan, the draft alternatives support the Grant House complex serving as a focal point for cultural history, interpretation, visitor services, and park operations. The Carriage House and McCreary Cottage provide potential reuse and upgrades to serve as a visitor center or special events. Other improvements in the area include outdoor event space improvements like electrical upgrades, lighting, and a dance floor. Next slide. Holly Hill sits on a prominent location within the park and has been identified as a significant site for astronomy programs. A widened access road and accessible parking spaces would provide greater access for astronomy and other formal and informal programs with improved viewing area, telescope pad, wildlife cam, and interpretive signage. Next slide. This draft alternative also proposes to remove the existing amphitheater and construct an amphitheater central to the Halls Valley, Snell, and Woodlands group campgrounds, providing a more accessible route, stage, and access and parking to the amphitheater. The site's adjacency to these campgrounds and Holly Hill astronomy programs would better serve campground users. Next slide. The Canada de Paula site serves the park well for group camping. The draft alternatives propose to repurpose existing structures to provide cultural history and interpretation through docent-guided tours and reuse of the metal barn. Additional improvements include accessible parking, designated picnic area, and potential addition of equestrian corrals. This would provide a larger site for the equestrian group to reserve the entire Canada de Paula campground. Next slide. The existing amphitheater road could be repurposed to include 1- and 2-bedroom cabins, which showed a similar interest as tent, hike-in, bike-in camping sites in the community outreach. Further analysis would be needed for staffing, programming, maintenance, and operations, and whether a restroom facility is provided or if the cabins include restrooms. Next slide. The draft alternatives provide a few upgrades to the Snell campground, including a paved access road to extend the year-round use, upgraded infrastructure, and 3 new campsites. Next slide. The existing overflow lot, which is that triangle space area on the map, provides a unique opportunity to provide a central restroom shower facility and enhanced parking and picnic area. South of the overflow lot provides an opportunity for a new group campsite that could host up to 40 people. The Woodlands group campsite, which is on the left of the map, includes paved access and parking, restroom, buildings, and a picnic area. Next slide. Lastly, the draft alternatives recommend improvements to circulation and access, including an ADA loop, parking and circulation improvements, reuse of historic structures, and enhancement to group picnic areas in this valley floor area of the park. This would include upgrades to the Stockman's picnic area with a potential shade structure so that any future events and programming that happens out there would benefit from that. And that concludes the improvements in the draft recommendations.
Thank you, Lance. So we are now in the comments and questions session. If you have a question or comment, you can use the Q&A feature to type in your question and comment. A staff will read your questions and comments out loud and respond to it. Alternatively, you can use the raise hand feature to ask your question or comment verbally, and you will be called on by a staff to unmute and speak. Please keep your questions to about 3 minutes. We will let you know when you have about a minute left to speak. So go ahead.
Caitlin, I might add, if you don't see that button on the bottom of your screen, you might need to hit the More button, and then you'll see which ones you need to add to the screen.
It looks like we have a question from Kathy. I'm gonna allow her to talk now.
Hi, just FYI, you still have the Q&A turned off. So I've tried a couple times.
Thank you. We'll work on
Yeah,
that.
so my question is, the kiosk you're talking about adding to the lake, is that like where you have at the main entrance, like collecting fees and that kind of thing? Or what kind of kiosk are you talking about? On Grant Lake.
Thank you, Kim. We're not proposing a kiosk per se at the parking area. This would just be continuing to be used like it is today, just extending the parking lot and then creating improvements like a restroom facility there.
I saw the word kiosk somewhere around this Grant Lake stuff. Maybe it was a slide before this. I don't
I
know.
know at Grant Lake we're proposing the parking pay station. Let me go through the next slide
Oh,
here.
maybe that's what you meant. Oh, I think it was the next
Might
one,
have been
right?
the pay station. Okay. Oh, let's see. Because as part of the recommendations, we were going to be leaving the existing kiosk at the park entry alone, but it might have been the parking pay station at Grant Lake.
Okay, because right now there isn't one, so that's one you can get into the park at without paying the fee. Okay, thank you.
Looks like we have another question from Dwayne. I'll allow them to talk.
Dwayne, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. It does look like our Q&A is working. So if you want to hit the Q&A button, you could also type out your question and we will read those. I see one question. Would you consider additional inputs for Star Party improvements? Yes, if you have any recommendations, this is why we're presenting to the public so that we could hear any more feedback from you so that we can take those considerations and provide those in the final preferred alternative.
Did you see any additional questions by him in the chat, or is he able to unmute if he wanted to share some of those specific recommendations or
Dwayne
suggestions?
put in the Q&A, what about a parking lot behind the Cal Fire Station?
Jeremy, could you answer that?
So a parking lot behind the Cal Fire Station is not currently under consideration. We do have a parking lot at the Twin Gates location. The area behind the Cal Fire parking lot was part of our project area for the Joseph D. Grant Master Plan Amendment, which was approved in 2020. And that is currently in design and permit. So and at this time, there are no additional parking lots as part of opening that property. The access would remain from Twin Gates parking lot would be the closest location.
We have another question from Kathy. This may not relate to master plan, but what is the plan for dealing with wild pigs?
Do you want me to answer that, Jeremy, or do you want to take that?
So the wild pigs are a major problem throughout the county. The Parks Department has had different management plans and different actions to try and address the pig problem. As part of this master plan, we won't be directly dealing with like a large sort of concentrated effort to deal with pigs. However, once we have finalized the draft alternatives, we'll be looking at ways so that we can make these areas a little bit more pig-proof if possible. We do have ongoing, especially where we have aggressive wildlife, including pigs. We do have the ability to do, take of those pigs where they're aggressive. But overall, we're still trying to do a sort of countywide effort. And that includes working with a number of other open space partners to try and come up with a consistent way of addressing it. But unfortunately, it's a problem that has persisted for a number of years, and there's no easy answers. So we continue to try and address it as we can on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, we have a question from Larry. How detailed would you like the proposal to be? I'm assuming this is regarding the public star party improvements.
Yes. Larry, if you want to email Kim and provide the recommendations, we're taking all ideas, like how you use it, what is needed to provide a stargazing program in your perspective, and we'll be able to take those and address these draft alternatives.
And then a question from Jack. Are the trees with the white dots shown on the proposed telescope pad parking area trees to be removed or added?
Those would be trees to be added, unless those are some existing trees that we could protect in place. At a conceptual level, it's sometimes hard to see everything that is on site, but our intent would be to protect as many trees in place. And these are just conceptual. So if the county was to go forward with the project, they would do all the studies and analysis to determine what the feasibility of these would be.
And we have a comment from Dwayne. I would recommend that you not close those three. So we have a question from Lisa. I was wondering, with the public interest in additional car camping, is there a draft alternative to make the new 40-person campsite a car camping loop instead?
Yes, we can look at the programming of that site, and we can work with county and staff to determine what the best use of that area would be, whether it is a group campsite or a car camping site.
To clarify, is this the area that you're questioning, Lisa, or is it a different site you want me to go to?
I think it's a site south of the overflow lot.
This one?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, right there. It's number 3 at the kind of south of the parking lot there. Or wait, or sorry, number 5, where
Okay.
it says picnic structure seating. That's the group site.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lisa said that's the one. And then we have a comment from Mark, Mark from SJAA. Ideally, the proposed trees in the current telescope pad should not be considered as they will limit the ability to view the entire sky from that site. Also, it's a bit unclear how much parking would be available.
Thank you. I can provide a little comment on that. This would serve as potentially 3 ADA spaces. The rest would be people could either walk or they could get dropped off up there, and there's a vehicle turnaround for access. But it's intended that people would potentially be camping throughout the park, and they would just walk from their campground over.
Other questions in the Q&A, or does anyone else have anything to add?
Yes, we have another comment from Mark. The challenge for the astronomers is access to vehicle parking. Some of these scopes weigh as much as 400 pounds.
That's great input. Thank you.
And then we have another comment from Larry. The August and December 2025 astronomy interpretive programs run by park staff were very popular. Haley Hill would have been too small a space to host.
Thank you for that input.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
We have another comment from Lisa. Adding a lighted walkway up to the Holly Hill is a good idea for walking. And then Graham comments, I share Mark's concern. That was regarding the vehicle access. And then Jack asks, would power be provided to the telescope pads?
It's something we can look at as part of looking at these draft alternatives as we move into the preferred alternatives. So thank you for those comments.
We have another comment from Larry. I have hosted star parties at Grant from 1989 to 2019 on Holly Hill. Mark is correct about Holly Hill parking and equipment transport. We have another comment from Mark. SJA has had a great time working with both the staff at Grant and the public star parties, or is it at GRP and the public star parties? We are currently on the west paved areas for star parties. Unfortunately, the trees and hillside from this path limits our ability to view the southwest and west parts of the sky. We would like to propose putting a path and pad more towards the east side where we could get more sky viewing and more access for the public. I believe Larry and the SJAA could provide detail on the location, size, and etc.
Thank you. We'd also be happy to meet with the SJAA and hear more comments as well if that helps.
Kim, can we go back to that slide for comments and questions? I think there's a few more people that have joined the meeting since. So if anyone do have any questions or comments regarding this project, feel free to use the raise hand feature or the Q&A feature. We have a comment from Dwayne. You said nothing about Sulphur Creek Ranch.
Sulphur Creek Ranch, it was part of the Grant Master Plan Amendment. So it was a separate planning process, and as Jeremy mentioned, that was approved in 2021, and we're currently in the design development, and then expected to begin construction in spring 2027, correct, Jeremy? So again, these are the same park, and it can be a little confusing, but that was a separate planning effort. And now this master plan update is looking at the core areas of the park and the trails. But again, the Grant Master Plan Amendment looked at the Sulphur Springs and the backcountry camping sites separately.
Larry asks, is the 1993 master plan available?
Yes, I can send that to you.
Lisa commented, I like the new loops.
Any other questions or comments? These are great so far, so keep them coming.
Give everyone about another minute. And then if we don't have any other comments or questions, we can move to the next steps. Also, if anybody thinks of any comments or questions after this meeting, feel free to send me an email with your ideas.
Okay, we have a question from Mark. How will the next phases of plans be implemented? What are the next processes and needs from the GRP team?
Just to clarify, is that for this current process of the master plan update, or did you still have questions about the Grant Master Plan Amendment and Sulphur Springs and backcountry camping?
Just the main GRP location.
The focus, core use areas.
That could be our next slide.
Yeah, you want to just move on to that? Are there any other questions before we move on to the next steps of the process?
There's a comment from Lisa saying event space upgrade ideas are great. And then Larry commented, looking forward to working with Kimberly et al.
Thank you.
That's all I see for questions and comments in the Q&A section, and I don't see anyone else with their hands raised.
We can move on to the next steps. And again, if anybody has additional questions or comments they think of, feel free to send me an email.
Okay, so for next steps, we will prepare a preferred alternatives and then present the preferred alternatives to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and then we'll prepare CEQA documents and then present to the Hewlett and Board of Supervisors. Next slide. So this concludes the public meeting. For any more information on this project, you can visit our parks website. You can also contact the project manager, Kimberly Brousseau, and via email. And then thank you so much, everyone, for coming to today's meeting. We still have some time left for this public meeting, so if you do have questions and comments still, you can use the Q&A feature or the raise hands to ask that now.
We will also be, we'll have the recording available for anyone that's interested. And then we'll be putting updates on the next steps of the projects when we go to the Parks and Rec Commission, when we have our CEQA document available for review. We will be notifying those on our interested persons list and our stakeholders and updates on our project sites. Any other additional questions or comments? We'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll wrap up the meeting. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate your feedback. Great comments and suggestions.
We have a question from Larry. What are the definitions for the abbreviations on the previous slide? We can go back.
A lot of acronyms, I apologize. So the PRC is our Parks and Rec Commission. CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. So we are planning on preparing a mitigated negative declaration, which is our CEQA document identifying any potential significant impacts to the environment as part of this process, this project. And then Hewlett is our Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee that reviews the project before going to the BOS, which is our Board of Supervisors, for approval. Any other questions or comments in the chat or the Q&A that you guys are seeing? Okay, again, I'll put the last slide up. So again, if you think of any other comments or questions, feel free to send me an email. Larry, I'll be in contact with you as well. And again, thank you all for attending our meeting tonight. And we really appreciate your feedback and your interest in our Joseph D. Grant County Park Master Plan Update Project.